how was your life ng 2014 until you had this big health issue?
At a time when another point in my career, there was another crisis that I faced. I got involved in the Meralco case. I don't know if you remember. I was a lawyer for GSIS, and it was
Yes.
a very antagonistic dispute. And I got involved in an investigation by the Supreme Court.
Yes.
I myself was investigated by the Supreme Court. Disbarment cases were filed against me. At that time, I can remember I would attend the investigation before the Supreme Court. I'd be testifying and I was bleeding heavily because I was pregnant. The miscarriage was happening as I was testifying, meaning I could feel myself bleeding. I had no choice. It wasn't a choice because if I don't keep it together, sino pa?
Real stories, real conversations. This is Unbreakable. You're listening to Unbreakable with Migs Bustos, brought to you by Lucca Creatives, powered by January Skies Creations. Ang ating pong guest today, she is an empowered woman in the courtroom with over 25 years of legal experience, currently the head of legal and compliance of Philinvest Development Corporation, and she also previously led major practices at one of the Philippines' most respected law firms, ang Divina Law. Siya rin po, na-recognize din po siya as the first woman lawyer of the year noong 2017 and one of the top 100 lawyers in the country. But beyond legal cases, isa rin po siyang survivor after conquering a brain tumor condition sometime, if I'm not mistaken, 2013. Nagsimula po siya sa kanyang journey as a marathoner and as an endurance sport enthusiast. Today, we sit down with attorney Star Elamparo to talk about law, life, and what it truly means to be unbreakable. Star, hello.
Hello, Migs. Happy to be here. You actually had me at Unbreakable.
Yes.
I love the title.
Thank you, Star. Nung minessage kita, actually nung nagko-conceptualize talaga kami ng episodes about the true meaning of Unbreakable, because you know that I'm familiar with your story, with the ups and downs in terms of career, in terms of health, and as we journey this marathoning life together, you truly embody it. And thank you for being here. Siguro magsimula lang muna ako, Star, no? Medyo maglilinear lang tayo ng konti. Kailan mo unang na-realize na gusto ko palang mag-law?
Very early on in my life kasi my father is a lawyer. And I really idolized him a lot. So we weren't well off. I came from humble beginnings. But my dad was able to get his law education, and we were raised by him. And in fact, being the eldest in the family as a lawyer, siya din na nakapagpaaral sa lahat ng mga kapatid niya. So he lived a very modest life as a lawyer, but early on, he would expose me to his work. In fact, I would remember times na sinasama niya ako sa korte. So he was doing litigation.
Okay.
Oo. So he didn't work for a law firm, but he was working in an insurance company. But he did a lot of litigation matters. And I was so fascinated.
How young were you at that time?
Siguro I was still in elementary, siguro mga 5 or 6.
Wow.
He would before grade 1, he would sometimes bring me. Dahil kung minsan, syempre, daddy, isama naman ako sa trabaho mo. So he would tag me along. And I would see the action in court. I also behaved. Syempre, I was listening to the judge, this all-powerful person presiding over the case. And then I would listen to the lawyers argue. And I thought it was something very, very spectacular.
Ang cool, ang galing.
Cool, yes. And whenever I would see my dad argue and defending a client, that for me, that got etched in my mind. Now, I want someday to be also defending people in court and advocating for their rights. So it wasn't very difficult for my parents, my dad, to convince me later on to take up law. Although at one point, medyo I took up journalism.
Yun.
And wanted to be a journalist. Well, sabi ko, I want to be a writer, Dad. can I postpone going to law school? And my dad had a very, very powerful trick. Sabi niya sa akin, oh, you can always do journalism after you graduate from law school. Promise, you don't
Wow.
have to practice
Parang
law.
baliktad
Oo.
Oo.
Tapusin mo lang yung law school, sabi niya gano'n.
Oo.
So, that convinced me, o sige daddy, pagbigyan kita. Pag
Oo.
pumasa ako sa admissions test, sa UP Law admissions test, sabi ko, sige, I'll take up law. But if I don't pass, I don't make it, I'll go straight into journalism, which was my other dream. Fortunately, I passed, and the rest is history.
Tinuloy mo ba yung pagiging... Well, of course, para po sa mga kaibigan natin, no, Star actually has a column in one of the... tama ba? Daily Tribune, di ba? Sa Daily Tribune.
Yes.
So, kumbaga yung journalism work mo, nakukontinue mo pa rin siya.
Yes, I'm happy to be able to revive somewhat my journalism career because when I was in UP Mascom, I would freelance and I would interview. I was writing for a magazine called Midweek Magazine. I'm not sure if you're familiar, mga lumang tao, familiar doon. So it was a progressive magazine, a very progressive, some people call it left-wing magazine. So it was political in nature. And I would interview people. I would write about rallies. I would write about interesting progressive personalities. And my mentor was Jose Pete Lacaba, is one of the best writers of our time. And I enjoyed journalism work. I enjoyed the investigative part of it. I enjoyed toiling over an article before a deadline. You're having to produce a work that you can be proud of.
Yes.
So that process of writing, I enjoyed thoroughly. That's why after I graduated from Mascom, I said that if there had been an opportunity for me to come back to journalism, I would really welcome it. And thankfully, in law school and in lawyering, we do a lot of writing pala. So I didn't realize that kasi akala natin pag abogado, ito yung mga nag-argue lamang sa korte, nakikipagdebate sa mga kalaban na abogado,
But it's a lot of studying, lots of writing.
A lot of it. Yeah. Actually, I would say 80 to 90% of lawyering is actually writing, because before you appear in court, you would have actually submitted pleading after pleading before the court.
Being exposed at a young age, sabi mo nga at 5, 6 years old, pupunta ka na sa courtroom, and syempre, sa kuha ko dito, mabuti kang anak, di ba? Na talagang mahal mo yung pamilya mo, mahal mo yung mga magulang mo. Nagkaroon ba ng ganong thinking na, paano kaya kami makakaahon sa kahirapan? Ano ang aking magagawa para matulungan ko ang pamilya ko?
Alam mo, Migs, pag lumaki ka kasi sa hirap, to be frank about it, hindi mo iniisip na mahirap ka. Iniisip mo normal lang.
Ito yun eh.
Ito yung buhay namin eh. Although, syempre, sa eskwelahan naman kasi public school ako, diba? So, ang mga kaklase ko din, mga nagtitinda lang sa palengke yung nanay. So, hindi rin naman mayayaman. Of course, once in a while, you meet mga bata na, ay, ang ganda ng manika niya, siguro mayaman siya. But because that's our daily existence,
that wasn't the thinking.
That wasn't the thinking. And even though we weren't well off, yung mga magulang ko didn't make us feel that we were wanting in any way. Didn't make us feel that we were disadvantaged in any way. They would always tell me and my brother, na you can be whatever you want to be. Na hindi hadlang yung mahirap lang tayo, wala tayong masyadong kapasidad to achieving your dreams.
Nung ganap ng abogado, was it smooth sailing? So what was the journey like?
Hindi dapat importante kagad sa akin yung sweldo. Dapat ang importante yung kung saan ako matututo. Dahil alam ko na after law school, I still need to be trained in the real world. Diba? Iba yung training sa law school. Exactly. Iba yung training sa law school, iba yung training sa totoong buhay.
And most of the things you learn on the job.
Exactly. So, sabi ko, hahanap pa ako ng mapapasukan ng malaking sweldo o na marami akong matututunan kahit na maliit ang sweldo. So, I decided to enter the law firm of Atty. Mario Unquico, who's still, I consider, one of the best litigators our country has produced. Mababang sweldo, maliit na law firm, pero sabi ko, kung gusto kong matuto ng litigation, if I want to do litigation, I would want to enter his firm.
Was it a tough decision also? Or were you just really zoned in on like, hindi, dun ako talaga sa the best, kahit mas mababa ang sweldo, dun ako.
I didn't have any doubt, Mix. It wasn't even a dilemma for me. Although,
Yeah.
I sent out my applications to all these usual
Still,
suspects. I
yes,
still sent out applications. I was fortunate na lahat naman ng nag-interview sa akin natanggap ako.
Oo.
There were big firms that gave me an invitation, but I still chose. It wasn't a question for me. Kasi, bilang sanay sa hirap, ibig sabihin, hindi naman ako naghagad kagad na biglang yaman, 'di ba? So, sapat na sa akin na actually masaya na ako na kahit papaano susweldo na ako, hindi na ako masyadong maging dependent sa parents ko. My parents also never pressured me na, "Anak, kailangan kumita ka ng malaki dahil ang laki na ng investment namin sa'yo." Wala naman silang ganon. Nothing of that sort. So, they were very supportive in my decision and it was the best decision I made. Those 2 years na nandun ako sa law firm ni Atty. Mario Kiko, I really learned the ropes. Alam mo, pagpasok ko pa lang sa law firm, hindi pa ako pumapasa sa bar, ha, Migs. Ang inassign na kaso na kagad sa akin, yung Hubert Webb case.
Oh, wow!
Diba?
Alam mo, I had a feeling you said Hubert Webb, nasa isip ko, ano to, Visconde?
Visconde.
Wow.
Yeah, the Visconde case.
What were you, anong role mo, for that?
I was the most junior associate. Kasi when you're an associate, you're assigned to a team.
Yeah.
Right? So, usually cases are handled by a team. So, of course, Atty. Mario Kiko being the head of our law firm was the most senior member of the team. And he
was representing the Viscondes. Tama ba?
He was representing Hubert Webb. Hubert Webb and Tony Boylehan.
Yeah.
Oo.
Yeah.
Which is the more difficult thing to do. Because,
the evidence was pointing towards,
well, supposedly, yes. Yeah. And the public sentiment was overwhelmingly against the Webbs and the other accused.
Yes.
Talagang,
this was 95, no? 95.
This was around 95.
50, yeah.
Alam mo yun, yung pupunta kami sa korte sa Parañaque, na there would be throngs of people booing us.
Yes.
Can you imagine, as a young lawyer, na you're just, learning and very impressionable, and you would attend every day. Araw-araw ang hearing namin nun. Kasi nga,
and the media was circled in.
The major media were there.
Binabantayan
yung kaso. Mga tao talaga, they were so interested in the case. And as I told you, like, the public sentiment was overwhelming against us. So, it was really the perfect learning experience for me. Of course, I'm happy that eventually, Hubert Webb and the rest got acquitted and justice was served. But, I learned a lot from helping out in that case.
How was your life ng 2014 until you had this big health issue?
Okay. So, like I said, my life wasn't like all roses and chocolates. So, 1998, we suffered from a major tragedy. My brother, my only brother, passed away through a car accident. He was a medical student at that time. And in that same accident was my dad. So, nasa passenger seat yung brother ko, and then my dad was behind him. So, my dad's legs got broken and had to be operated on. And given that, I have only one sibling, we didn't even know how to tell him that my brother passed away. He didn't know kasi nagkahiwalay sila. Dinala sa ibang hospital yung dad ko. It was a really terrible time because I had an older brother. I was the eldest in my family. My mom was retired. My dad was in the hospital. So that was the most testing, probably one of the most, difficult time for me. When your brother is in the burol, there, and my dad is in the hospital about to undergo a major operation, and my mom was catatonic. My mom wanted to just pass away, to just die. Sabi niya, there's no meaning to life. I mean, I know how much she loved my brother, and I had to be strong for everybody. So it was difficult financially, emotionally, psychologically, even spiritually. But I realized early on that I have to keep keep it together. I had no choice. It wasn't a choice because if I don't keep it together, sino pa?
Yun nga.
Diba? Sino pa? Nag-aasikaso ka ng patay, nag-aasikaso ka ng operahan, ng nasa ospital. So, one of the things actually that led me into wanting to have a family is to provide my parents a reason to continue living after my dad passed away. So, yun, I decided na it was time to have a family. I was of age anyway. I would want to have kids. I would want to be able to provide my parents with grandchildren. Hopefully, that will extend their life, diba? And it did. It did. It did. I gave birth to two handsome, smart, young talented sons. Both of whom I'm very proud of. But unfortunately, the marriage didn't work out. I had a series of miscarriages at a time when another point in my career, there was another crisis that I faced. I got involved in the Meralco case. I don't know if you remember. I got involved in the Meralco case. I was lawyer for GSIS, and it was a very antagonistic dispute, hotly contested. And I got involved in an investigation by the Supreme Court.
Yes.
I myself was investigated by the Supreme Court. Disbarment cases were filed against me.
For context, ano nga ba yung kinaso?
Oh well, it was a shareholder dispute between Meralco and GSIS, and a case was filed with SEC. Eventually, elevated to the Court of Appeals, and there were allegations that there was impropriety, that supposedly we tried to compel the Court of Appeals, the justice, to issue a ruling in our favor, and I was being accused of being responsible for that. And
ikaw yung tinuturo as head of legal.
As head of legal, because I was the face of GSIS at that time. I was a spokesperson.
Yes.
I was the one in the front lines. I was the one talking. I was the one, arguing with everyone from Meralco. So I was the one charged. I was the one subjected to investigation. At that time, I can remember I would attend the investigation before the Supreme Court. I'd be testifying, and I was bleeding heavily because I was pregnant, and the miscarriage was happening as I was testifying, meaning I could feel myself bleeding heavily.
That's stress. I mean, everything na compounded na yan.
Everything compounded, plus my marriage at that time was in tatters. So, alam mo yun, and my kids were still small. So again, I was trying to keep everything together. It was a very stressful case. It was a difficult time. But eventually, we were vindicated. The disbarment cases were all dismissed.
Nabasura.
Nabasura din. And I've always been proud to say na you can ask anyone. I never accepted a single centavo of bribe from anybody. And I've always been proud of that. I mean, I don't have much. I may not be rich, but my integrity and my good name is very important to me, and I'll protect it no matter what. So when I was charged with impropriety by no less than the Supreme Court, and I had to testify before the justices, it was very, very, I don't know, it's a mixture of anger, indignation, given that I would never do.
Parang hindi mo ma-comprehend, no?
Hindi ko ma-justify. Why would I be persecuted if I didn't do anything wrong? But of course, things happen.
Yeah.
And eventually, the good thing is, we got vindicated. But again, I had two miscarriages. The marriage ended. And after that, sabi ko, Lord, siguro naman, quota na ako. I've been through a lot in life already. Siguro quota na ako. Until 2014. 2014, sabi ko, akala ko quota na ako.
Okay. Ano yung 2014?
Okay, 2014, I remember very distinctly, it was my birthday, February 10. I was having dinner with a friend. The headache began. Before that, I had no symptom whatsoever. Wala naman akong major illness, no nothing. The headache began. So, sabi ko, hindi naman ako, I never had migraine before. So, having that kind of headache wasn't familiar to
As
me. It
in,
was
masamang
really
headache.
strange. Masamang headache, as in enough for you to want to just stop doing whatever. Friday I was celebrating on my birthday, but I couldn't bear it, so I had to go home. The headache didn't stop and got worse throughout that weekend. As in, it had escalated to a level na gusto mong iumpog yung ulo mo sa pader.
Para lang
Ganon
matapos
siya.
na.
Para lang matapos na. That's why
Para matapos yung sakit ng ulo.
para matapos yung sakit ng ulo. And to make a long story short, I was admitted. The initial diagnosis, unfortunately, was pneumonia. Pneumonia. I didn't know, I up to now.
Parang ang layo ah.
Ang layo. For up to now, I actually am uncertain whether I actually had pneumonia coinciding with what happened, but that was the initial diagnosis. I was confined for pneumonia. I was medicated
For pneumonia?
For pneumonia for about a week because they saw something in my lungs daw.
Oh.
Kasi binigyan ako ng doctor for
Internal,
the system, internal, ganyan.
neuro.
Ibang klaseng doctor, yes. And all of them went to break to me the news na sabi nila, alam mo, expression pa lang sa mukha nila, alam mo, it's something bad. It was very, very dire expressions on their faces. And sabi, Ma'am, we would like to inform you that unfortunately, positive po yung lumabas na result sa MRI. They found a lesion in your brain. And then, okay, when you hear...
Anong lesion?
Exactly.
Sugat?
You know, my response? My response was, well, at least hindi po tumor.
Yun na nga
Kasi the lesion daw, so sabi niya, Ma'am, actually, it's a brain tumor. And when they said that, my son was there, because my son never left my side. My panganay, who was 10 years old, as soon as na-confine ako sa hospital, he wouldn't leave. He refused to leave my side. Talagang, alam mo yun, yung...
Parang talagang bagsak.
Para ka nawalan ng dugo na hindi mo alam. You're just really shocked and trying to absorb it. What does it mean? I'd like to correct that. It's not cancer because it was eventually found to be benign.
Okay.
But...
tama, benign siya.
It was benign. It was benign. But before the biopsy,
Siyempre, hindi mo alam eh.
You didn't know kung benign. So before the biopsy, I was prepared for the possibility that it was going to be a malignant cancer, that it was going to be a cancer, and that my days might probably be numbered. So I'm a single mom, taking care of 2 old parents and 2 young kids, all under my wings. And I thought that 2 weeks after I pass away, they'd be starving. I mean, that was how dire it was. So I was already making plans of, giving my mom to this relative, my dad to this relative, my panganay to my best friend, my bunso to whomever. It was a long process of negotiating, praying, mostly negotiating with God and asking for forgiveness, asking for help, asking for a second chance, because hindi pa kaya ako ng family ko. Eventually, please God, eventually I know I will join you, but please not yet, because my family isn't prepared. And there's nothing that I love more than my family. It was a very difficult time, but sa akin it was a blessing. Because it might be trite, but that kind of experience allowed me to strengthen my faith. And now death doesn't faze me. In those moments when I thought that I was going to die and there was a probability that I was going to die, I was really just talking to God. And people may not believe it. In many ways, He communicated to me. I mean, not physically communicated to me, sometimes in my dreams. I remember nung sedated ako, I could feel His love, honestly, Migs. And sabi ko nga, ang takeaway ko from that experience, because the reason why I find it such a blessing is I discovered I am unbreakable. Meaning, My faith is now unbreakable. My love for God is unbreakable. Um, I am unbreakable. You can do anything to me, but I'm not afraid because I know that I'm joining my Creator after this life, and it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful place. Katulad ka na nasabi ko, once you're confronted with what you think is the worst possible situation, something that you never anticipated would happen to you. Ito yung mga tinatawag ni Nassim Taleb na mga black swan events. Yung mga never mo ma-foresee na mangyayari sa'yo na pero nangyari. Yung sobrang samang pangyayari.
At nangyayari pala yun.
At nangyayari
yung mga
pala yun.
hindi pwedeng mangyari, tingin mo hindi mangyari.
Oo.
Wow.
Mangyayari at mangyayari yun, in fact. Mangyayari at mangyayari yun. Yung mga akala mo hindi mangyayari. Mangyayari at mangyayari yun. What happens? What do you do?
Yeah.
And I think my insight, based on my experience, is that don't look at it as the end. There is always an upside. There is always an opportunity. There is always something you can learn.
Ikaw, Star, nung nakita mong nung na-diagnose ka with brain tumor, ano yung opportunity na nakita mo doon?
To strengthen my faith. Kasi your disease is beyond your control, right? There's nothing you can do about it. Kung binigyan ka halimbawa ng malignant brain tumor, there's nothing you can. Of course, you can try to plan for your family and everything, but what can you control? Your faith, diba? It's still something that's within you, within your power to do. Are you going to plunge into desperation, into depression, or are you going to reach out to your Creator and establish that relationship which you may have long neglected or forgotten? I chose the latter. But if people are able to appreciate more how God continues to help them in the most difficult of circumstances, you'd have a better attitude towards, devastating life occurrences. It won't plunge you into depression. Instead, you will continue to have hope. You will continue to strengthen your faith in the Lord.
A big part of this health battle na pinagdaanan mo was really stress when it comes to, you were overplunged with work and little emphasis on movement and fitness. After that, so what was it like? And then to eventually, doing this hobby of yours.
Right.
Diba? Not hobby, it's our living. It's our
passion.
sport. It's our passion, diba?
Right.
Our sport. So was it like all throughout, ganun na? And then what were your learnings also along the way?
Well, the impetus happened, of course, after my diagnosis, after my recovery from the surgery. Sabi ko, Doc, ano ba talagang dahilan? Ba't ako nagkaganito? Ba't ako nagkaroon ng cancer? And, science still doesn't know exactly what causes cancer, but definitely a lot of it is lifestyle related. I was very unhealthy then. My diet was unhealthy. I was very sedentary. As a lawyer, palagi lang ako nakaupo in front of the computer and, writing and not having much physical activity. So that was very true. So, of course, because I am concerned about my family, I am concerned about prolonging my life, I studied. Kailangan natin pag-aralan yun. Kung mahalaga sa'yo, pag-aaralan mo yan. Paano ba ako magiging healthy? At sinabi din kasi sa akin ng doktor ko, pwedeng mag-recur yung tumor niyan, pwedeng magkaroon uli, kaya I still have to be monitored. Even though it's benign,
okay,
it can still go back. The tumor can still go back.
Yes.
That's not
so
impossible.
Now it's okay.
Well, it's being monitored. It's being monitored.
Okay.
Now it's okay. So I plunged into, digging up anything and everything I could find about health and fitness. I started going to the gym. Hindi muna running kaagad. So of course, you start going to the gym. You want to do physical activity, and in the gym, you just run in the treadmill. Until, at that time, medyo nauuso na rin yung mga races, yung mga fun runs. And I have a best friend who was similarly interested in trying out running.
Parang si Star lang isa sa mga kilala ko po na talagang nagmamarathon on a whim.
Kwento ko lang, Migs. In fact, recently, our CEO sa FDC, when she learned that I was doing all these endurance sports, doing marathons and high rocks and all, sabi niya, she was really naturally curious. Why would you do that? Why would you subject yourself to such suffering? Ganyan.
But alam mo, narinig ko sa isang podcast, when a person generally asks you that, you answer back na parang, bakit ikaw hindi? Why don't you? Diba?
CEO ko yan. So, I'm gonna respond that way.
Di po sa inyo, mama.
Yeah, so
I just heard that in a podcast a while ago. Because,
right.
I mean, diba, parang...
Throw back the question. Why not?
Why not? Anyway, go ahead.
But you know, I follow a lot of influencers and I try to read a lot of books. And there's this person on YouTube, si Chris Williamson. I don't know if you listen to him. And he had a very good explanation that resonated with me. It's about chosen suffering.
Chosen suffering.
Suffering.
That's true.
When you do marathons, endurance sports, you're basically choosing to suffer, right?
That's true, yeah.
You're suffering and even paying for it.
Sabi ko nga rin kahapon, sabay kaming gumising ni Mishi, 3 a.m. for my long run. Sabi ko sa kanya, ba't ko nga ba ito ginagawa? Natawa siya sa akin.
Every time, right?
Every time,
You ask yourself, in fact, while you're in the middle of the marathon, you're basically
ba't ko nga ba ito
asking yourself,
ginagawa?
bakit ka ba? Remind me again, why am I doing this? And he had an answer, which I'm sure he borrowed from, Stoic philosophers and all. Sabi niya, in life, you will have a lot of unchosen suffering. I mean,
unchosen
suffering. Your parents will pass away. Your loved ones will die. You will have broken relationships. You will fall ill. You will become destitute. So, life is full of unchosen suffering. And in order to arm yourself, prepare yourself for the happening of such unchosen suffering, you should elect to do hard things, chosen suffering. That's the best way to arm yourself. And I tend to believe it because of my personal experience.
Pero sa'yo parang nauna yung unchosen, no?
Actually, well, I had the benefit of a lot of sufferings even before I chose difficult things.
Yes.
And that helped me.
Yes, that's true.
And that helped me.
It goes two ways.
Goes two ways.
Two ways.
That helped me. Parang you would want, ang ganda ng pagkakasabi niya, sabi niya, you put yourself into a position where you become a better alloy of whatever metal it is you're made of with chosen suffering. And if you constantly choose to do hard things, when the tough times come, you have the muscle to protect yourself. You have the muscle to deal with it.
To wrap up, Star, ano pa mga gusto mo ma-achieve in your career and in your fitness life?
In my career, I've already achieved a lot, but hindi naman sa pagmamayabang ha. Pero ibig sabihin marami nagsasabi na I'm a very successful lawyer. But alam mo, ang naisip ko sa career-wise, I hope that I can have a better platform pa to influence public opinion. Wala akong balak tumakbo for public office. But, there are so many things in society right now na I wish I had a bigger platform so that I can influence public policy or public opinion. Hindi dahil feeling ko tama ako or ako lang ang may matinong pag-iisip, pero sana I would have a bigger voice because there are still so many advocacies that I'd like to push. Someone like you has a very good platform already, and I admire the way you use your platform in advocating for certain things. Hopefully I can still develop that. It's never too late. With respect to family, I'm very happy with my 2 kids. As I said, they're now young adults, so I hope they continue to grow into good human beings. Well, of course, my mom, I hope that she'll get better despite her condition. We hope to spend more years with her. With respect to running and sports, syempre, eventually Boston.
Yes.
Pangarap pa din natin yan, but I've come to a point also in my running and probably in my high rocks hobby na it's not much the PR anymore. What's important is that you're healthy,
You get to do it for the longest possible time.
Yes, it's make it your lifestyle, make it fun. Because if you're miserable because you're not hitting your target, what's the use?
What's the point?
What's
Yeah.
the point?
What's the point?
So you're here to be healthy, to be happy, to have fun, and you know, for longevity. So it's PR is you know, an icing.
Do
on
you
the
see
cake.
yourself running until... Ako, I see myself running until my last breath. Same thing.
Totally same thing. Sabi
Oo.
nga ni Haruki Murakami, I hope running and I grow old together.
Tama. Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. Oo.
That's quotable quote for the day. And then, I hope running
and I will grow old together.
grow together. Panghuli na lang, Star, dito sa camera mo. What makes you unbreakable?
Like I said, my faith makes me unbreakable because of my belief in God and the belief that God loves me. Nothing can really happen that cannot be, you know, overcome. No difficulty is insurmountable, but at the same time, you have to do the work. You have to improve yourself. You have to strengthen yourself. You have to be a stronger alloy of whatever it is, whatever metal it is that you're made of, and you do that by, you know, having a good lifestyle and engaging in sports, making sure that your health is a priority, and making sure that all your loved ones are taken care of.
So maraming salamat po sa pagkinig, sa pagdood. Muli, ang ating pong panauhin nating guest today, Star Elamparo, truly unbreakable. Hi, hello, this is Migs Bustos, and do not miss every Unbreakable episode on the Lucca Creatives YouTube channel.